What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C4 here today, continuing Draft Central here on Beast Mode TV. We're going to be taking a look at the 2017 NFL Draft class for the linebackers. We're going to be taking a look at the top 5 inside linebackers and the top 5 outside linebackers. So here's where I said in my last video where we did defensive linemen, cut me some slack on the outside linebackers in case, oh, he's a DN, C4, oh, he's definitely going to be a down lineman. I try my best to get guys that will convert mostly to a either 3-4 outside linebacker or just a 4-3 outside linebacker. Some of these may be a little bit off, but they will be included and will be touched on regardless. So we will start. Let's get actually the outside linebackers out of the way because I'm a lot more confident with my inside linebacker choices here. So number 5, I'm going with Joe Mathis from Washington, 6'2", 255 pounds. He had 5 sacks in pretty much 5 games, and then he got hurt and missed the rest of the season there. I think he will come back. But from the small scope of what we saw, very, very big impact player. And who knows how far Washington would have gone if they had him down the final stretch of the season. Maybe undefeated, who knows. But I saw a pro comparison, not mine, read somewhere. Someone compared him to Ryan Kerrigan of the Washington Redskins, and I assume so. I mean, the scope is really, really small, but I think he is going to be the big, out of any position, he might be like the biggest question mark in terms of, like, he could be first round grade. You might be able to land him in the 3rd round because of the limited production and the limited tape on him. But I think from what I've seen, very, very good playmaker, and I definitely think he will rise up a lot of people's boards if he can attend the combine and help his draft stock out there a little bit. Going to number 4 is going to be Hassan Riddick from Temple, 6'1", 230 pounds. Astonishing numbers this year for Temple. 65 tackles, 22.5 tackle for his loss, 10.5 sacks. I think the pro comparison for him is there's glimpses of Elvis Dumervil. Both these guys, undersized defensive ends, but they use their leverage to their advantage. Very explosive playmakers. Riddick really just kind of, very much like Joe Mathis, a couple of these guys here for the outside linebackers just came and and blew up on the scene this year. But I think Riddick has improved his draft. I think he will be at the Senior Bowl, and a really strong combine can more solidify him in this top 5 mark. But I have seen how many Temple games? I didn't see a whole lot, definitely not as much as I watched a year ago. But I think I saw 2. I definitely saw their bowl game, and Riddick was all over the place. Looked like the best player on the field most times. So I think I'm very comfortable putting him here at number 4. Going number 3 is going to be Ryan Anderson from the University of Alabama, 6'2", 255 pounds on the season, 64 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, and 9 sacks. Just another one of the incredible playmakers on defense for the Alabama Crimson Tide. My pro comparison from him is a less refined Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram came out of South Carolina, I'm pretty sure it was South Carolina. First round grade, first round draft prospect, and has been very solid. I don't think he started real hot out of the gates for San Diego, but over the last couple of years, he's been one of their best players on the defensive side of the ball. And you see maybe the size, the comparison is very, very similar. Their explosiveness is very similar. The way their instincts look like. You put a sack of Ryan Anderson, you put a sack of Melvin Ingram. They look pretty goddamn similar. So I'm confident with that player comparison. I think Ryan Anderson, I think he's currently mocked to go in like the 3rd round. I think that offers tremendous value there in the 3rd round. Go number 2 is Charles Harris from Mizzou, 6 foot, I think he's 6'3", 255 pounds on the year, 61 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 9.5 sacks. He's another one of those guys. Is he going to be a 4-3 defensive end or a 3-4 outside linebacker? Not exactly sure. But my pro comparison of him is D Ford when D Ford was coming out of Auburn. I mean, D Ford guy. So many people put the bus tag on him, and look what he did this year. He's probably top 5 in sacks in the NFL. See a little bit of that in Charles Harris. But when D4 was coming out for the NFL draft from Auburn, that looks really, really identical to what we got in Charles Harris. In terms of play style, I mean, D4 was a little bit more undersized, but he helped himself with a very solid combine. And I think Charles Harris, again, could be one of the few outside linebackers. I think a lot of these outside linebackers, this list could change quite a bit when I do 2.0 potentially after the combine, because I have to see what a lot of these guys look like in terms of their measurables on tape. But as it stands right now, Charles Harris will be our number 2 outside linebacker. But our number 1 outside linebacker is the brother of maybe the best player in the NFL, and that is T.J. Watt from the University of Wisconsin, 6'4", 244 pounds on the year, 63 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, and 11.5 sacks. He was all over the place, literally did everything. He'd make plays against the run, get after the quarterback, drop back into the secondary, get some pass deflections. Very, very impressed. I thought like maybe it was a little bit overhyped. He's a brother of J.J. Watt. Of course, everyone's going to try to get him camera time, going to talk about him and stuff. He is the real deal. I don't think he's going to be like Let's be honest. There's not. J.J. Watt is a once-in-a-generation type player, but he's going to be a very good NFL player. My pro comparison from him, I don't have a, like, for sure, right in. This is the comparison. But he looks Clay Matthews-esque and what Clay Matthews was able to do when he was outside linebacker. Did he go back to outside linebacker? Maybe I'll have to take notice when I watch them play against the Atlanta Falcons in the championship game. Has he played? I know they moved him to middle linebacker last year. I think they moved him back outside. But I mean, for a while there, J.J. Watt was one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. Could do it all. Against the run, get after the quarterback, get double-digit sacks. And I see a lot of those similarities with T.J. Watt. And for my money, it's pretty much easy. He's the undisputed top outside linebacker for this year's draft class. Moving on to the inside linebackers. Very, very strong position. I think all 5 of these guys, I mean, some people are kind of shitting on my number 5 and number 4 a little bit, but I think for the most part, all 5 of these guys will be very solid NFL players. Starting at number 5, I'm going with Anthony Walker from Northwestern, 6'1", 245 pounds on the year. He had 105 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. For me, I mean, a lot of people are shitting on his weight gain. He gained a little bit of weight, and people said he lost a little bit of his explosiveness. And you could see he wasn't as quick as he was in 2015. 2015, he was very, very good. Shoot up a lot of people's boards when Northwestern was doing really well there in 2015. But for me, my pro comparison, he looks very similar to what I saw with Eric Kendricks coming to UCLA. Very instinctive, very sound technique, doesn't give up a lot of arm tackles, he's always going to be a guy reliable against the run, and that's what I see with Anthony Walker. I think he's currently mocked to be a second, third round pick, and I think he will be a every down linebacker in the NFL. But with the fluctuations in his size, I think once he gets to a pro level strength and conditioning program, it will really help him out a little bit. Number 4 is Raekwon McMillan from Ohio State University, 6'2", 240 pounds on the year. He had 102 tackles, 5 tackles for loss. The pro comparison that I saw for him, that I gave, was Reggie Ragland, who came out of University of Alabama last year. I think he tore his ACL or something crazy like that in the Bucks training, or not the Bucks, but the Bills training camp, so he didn't see any field time. But, I mean, a lot of people are considering Raekwon McMillan a little bit of a bust. They don't really see his fit in the NFL. Doesn't think he has really the instincts. But from the athletic standpoint, he is certainly there. And I think if you draft him to be a starting middle linebacker, he may not be everything that you're looking for. But if you can add him to a linebacking core that you can shuffle him in and out, and he can get him, increase his playing time over time, and have maybe year 2 be a starter, I think that's definitely going to be the best situation for Raekwon McMillan. But he definitely has the intangibles, and he could certainly help his draft stock by having a very strong combine, which I think he will. Going to number 3 is going to be Gerard Davis from the University of Florida. Yeah, my boy, 6'2", 230 pounds, had 60 tackles last year, struggled with injury near the end, but for a very good defense in Florida, and I'm going to sound incredibly biased when I come on and say this, but I think Florida, Alabama, and Michigan have the best defense. Gerard Davis was maybe the best player. My pro comparison for him is Jordan Hicks. Very easy comparison for me to make as I'm fans of both teams. And I think I see lots of similarities. He's a leader of a defense. Incredibly athletic, very instinctive. Drop back. He's not horrible in coverage, not a complete liability in coverage. Fumbles, big hitter, does literally everything. He checks all the boxes. 230 pounds, maybe a little bit undersized for an ideal middle linebacker. I think you probably want him around the 240 range, but give him a friggin' off season, he'll get up there. I think he will have he has the frame to bulk up there a little bit. But I think Davis could be a sleeper. I think he's projected right now to go in the 2nd round. I'd be all over that if I need a middle linebacker. I'd wait, feel like I could get him and get a starter and get a great playmaker. Not just a utility player, not a situational player, but an every down linebacker. So he's starting the run of the great linebackers this year's draft class. So number 2, the other guy that I'm a big fan of, Zach Cunningham from Vanderbilt, 6'4", 230 pounds last year, 125 tackles, 16.5 tackles for loss. My pro comparison from him is Kiko Alonso for the University of Oregon. I mean, just look at Kiko Alonso, more so his rookie year with Buffalo Bills, where I think he was a runner-up for Defensive Rookie of the Year. All over the place, can do it all. Zach Cunningham, tackle machine on Vandy, so he saw a lot of playing time against some of the offenses in the SEC, and he was always the one dude you had to worry about. Unfortunately, the Gators haven't been nearly as strong, so every time we played Vandy, it was a very, very close game, and you could just see he was just a little bit above the rest of the competition out there on the Vanderbilt defense. Always stood out. I don't think so much the case of a big fish in a small pond, but very, very so much. Maybe the best Vanderbilt player since Jordan Matthews. Very so much, because that makes fucking sense. But big fan of Zach Cunningham. I think he's a very talented linebacker and definitely should be a first-round pick, I think. And the number 1 player, who I actually don't have his stats here. How fucking professional is that? But everyone knows about this by now. He is incredible talent. I think if I was ranked, like I said, where I did the video before where I talked about defensive linemen, I said Jonathan Allen from Alabama would be my #1 prospect across the board. Another Alabama player would make my top 5 is Reuben Foster from Alabama, 6'1", 245 pounds. Pro comparison, I've seen bunch. I've seen Luke Kuechly. I've seen Brian Urlacher, stuff like that. For me, definitely not Brian Urlacher, is Patrick Willis from Ole Miss. Instinctive, the speed, literally everything. I'm not even going to run through everything. He has literally everything you want in a middle linebacker. I think he's a bona fide top 10 pick for sure. I think he's a top 5 talent. It's just more so what teams' needs are during the draft. I think Reuben Foster is literally everything you want in a middle linebacker. I don't think I've seen, since Luke Kuechly. I remember that's when I was kind of scouting, where if you can even call this scouting. This is more so informed opinion, if you will. I'd say Reuben Foster is right there with Luke Kuechly in terms of talent and production, everything you want in a middle linebacker. So I think whoever gets Reuben Foster is getting a franchise player. He's going to be incredible. Can't wait to use him in Madden. But there you go, guys. That is my review so far before the combine of the top overall 10 linebackers for the upcoming NFL draft. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. If you're new, smash the like button. If you like, I'm looking for, let's go for 75 likes on this video. And leave a comment in the comment section below, as always. If you guys have comments, questions, concerns, if you agree or disagree with my rankings, I want to hear from you guys. Let's engage in some conversations. But that does it for me today, guys. Thank you for watching. And, oh, I gotta keep doing this. I forgot. I get my little awards out here. So for the most NFL ready, I'm going to give it to Reuben Foster. For my most likely to be a bust, I'm going to go with Raekwon McMillan, which is, kind of consensus amongst a lot of people that are talent evaluators. For highest potential, I'm going Zach Cunningham. Even though I have him as my #2 inside linebacker, I could just see him being an absolute franchise player. Where people right now are just talking about him being a good player, I see franchise player with Cunningham. And for sleepers, we have Joe Mathis, who we ranked as the #5 outside linebacker. And I also like Devontae Fields, who's an outside linebacker, currently projected to go in the 3rd to 4th round. Was like, looked like the next big thing at TCU. Had some off the field issues, had to transfer to Louisville. Looks like he got his career back on path. I think he has the frame and project type player to be a franchise outside linebacker. So there you go, guys. That is it. And until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out.